Hey, what's up guys, Darion here, and welcome to the interior of my dad's 2015 Chevrolet Equinox. Now the reason that I'm actually in here is because it's actually a good recording spot, A, and B, I'm doing a car review of it. So the first ever car review on our channel. So basically for this I would like you to show some love for it, if you're gonna leave a comment, leave a constructive criticism. To be honest, because I don't really know what I'm doing. I've watched car reviews before, but I've never done one. So if you find it to be terrible, then now you know the reason. This is my first ever one. So yeah, let's just dive right in. Now the one I'm driving is the 2015 LS, so the base model. It has the 2.5 liter Ecotec engine with 184 brake horsepower. And it's also coupled to a all-wheel drive system that, to be honest, is fairly primitive. Now, this four-wheel drive system, it will engage if it detects some sort of slip, and then it'll send power to the rear. But then this all-wheel drive system can also overheat. And then once it overheats, then you're just stuck with front-wheel drive. Which isn't really a feature I'm a fan of. Well, not a feature, but it's not really a thing I'm a fan of. Because when you want all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, whatever, when you want that, you want it to have peace of mind. You want to have safety. You want to know you have that stability. And when you're driving one day in the snow, and then, you know, you're gripping a corner because of the four-wheel drive, and then you get to the next corner, you're like, okay, it should grip fine. I have the four-wheel drive. And then all of a sudden it reverts to front-wheel drive, and you just go plowing straight on into the car in front of you or into a tree, then who are you going to blame? You're going to blame General Motors, the people who made it. So hopefully that's something that they fixed in the 2016 model. But enough about technical all-wheel drive primitiveness speak. Let's move on to something that's really important to the people who would buy this, and that would be the interior space and quality. So we'll start with space. This car is very spacious. Right now, the rear seats at least, are as far forward as they can go, because recently I helped my dad transport a lawnmower and a new computer chair in the back of this. They both fit in it perfectly well. And to be honest, even with the seats fully up, I could probably live with this. I could be sitting behind my dad when he's driving and be perfectly comfortable. The rear is that spacious. It's also very quiet. So, okay, let's say that I'm driving next to a diesel pickup truck, and then the diesel pickup truck's just revving the shit out of the engine and just making a ton of noise. You'll hear it, yeah, but you won't hear it as loud as, like, say, my Toyota Camry that has recently been sold. And I uploaded a video just prior to this, so want to see what happened with that, go check out the video. Anyway, so it's very quiet on the inside. It's very isolated. It feels more like a luxury crossover instead of a cheap middle class crossover. And that brings us down to the price. I say cheap middle class crossover, but it's not that cheap. The one we have in the spec we have is $35,000 roughly. That's without taxes and things. Now, to be honest, for a family hauler, that's not that good of a price. Especially when you consider on the website, the base car with no options, no nothing on it, would cost you $24,000. And then you add on the stuff that you actually want, and then it'll come up to $35,000. Now, to be honest, the all-wheel drive system did put a lot of price onto it, but still something that should be worked on. But like, for the price that you pay for the all-wheel drive, you would expect it to work all the time. And next, the seats and suspension. It's a very comfortable car. The seats actually hug you. It doesn't like squeeze you like a racing bucket seat, but it more like grips you. So let's say you're going around a really tight corner, you went in too fast and you're just like struggling to get it to turn in. Instead of you just sliding around like this, whoa, the seat would actually grip you, and you'd only slide about this much, which is a really good thing. And then on bumpy roads, instead of you just swaying side to side with whatever the suspension does, the seats will actually also bolster you and keep you roughly upright. So you'll just be like, just slight movements. The steering wheel as well is fantastically comfortable. It's not too thick, it's not too thin, and it's got good grip to it. It's got good road feel. The handling on this car as well, it's really good, to be honest. At 40, it's really direct. So you just turn it in, and then it would go where you want it. And even at 60, if you did like just a tiny movement, then the car would do, actually move, which it might not be the best thing for inexperienced drivers, but for an experienced driver, that's a good lane changing maneuver. Because if you just have to move the steering wheel like this much instead of this much, then it'll be easier to make lane changes. You will have to put less lock to get into the next lane, and then you'd have less to make the car straighten out, which is also a good thing, which is a very good peace of mind as well. Now, all the cons and pros of this car is, in the review, I've said a lot of pros, but cons, I haven't really said. But right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten it. We're going to do a pros and cons list. Then I'll tell you if you should buy it, rent it, lease it, forget it. I got that scale from TFL Car, so, now you know that. Now, so let's start with pros, because, pros and cons. Alright, so pros. Comfortable interior. Good visibility as well. I didn't talk about that, but it's got really good visibility. So, comfort, visibility, space, and isolation. So, those are 4 pros. Then we start with the cons. Cons. Turning circle. If you were to try to make a U-turn on a normal street, you'd probably end up having to make a 3-point turn because this turning circle on this car is not good. So, turning circle's 1. Number 2 is the interior quality. I mean, like, okay, see, this is my hand. Just listen. It's just a bunch of hard plastics. I mean, even for a middle-class family hauler, you expect at least some higher-grade materials. So, and the final con, it doesn't really apply to the 2015, but more to the 2016. The 2016 Equinox does not have a CD player. Now, the reason being that everything's going all tech crazy, so all it has is USB ports and auxiliary units. My tablet just sent a notification to me. I wonder if you'll hear that in video. Oh well. Anyway, and auxiliary ports, which, to be honest, I can't talk now. An auxiliary port is fine. I usually have one plugged into this, like, when I'm driving. And to be honest, most of the time my dad kind of uses it sometimes. No, not most of the time. He just tolerates me using it. And this car doesn't have a USB port, but it has the auxiliary port, and it has a CD player. Both of those things are perfectly fine. So if you had taken out the CD player from the 2016 model, and then put 2 things that make it more complicated to listen to your music, what I mean is you'll have to take your CDs, put them in the computer, and then download all the music onto a USB, or download it all onto your phone, and then you'd plug it in. But that just adds time to, getting the music to play. When you could just have a CD, just like put it into the slot, and then it just plays. So to be honest, if you were gonna have any feature in new cars, it would be a CD player. Everyone's saying it's redundant, but in my opinion, it's not quite redundant yet. Once everything gets more advanced and more, what's the word I'm looking for? Refined, then yeah, you can take out the CD player. If you don't have to, like, download everything yourself onto your phone before listening to music. To be honest, that's kind of stupid. So technically for the 2015, it's 2 cons, 1 for the 2016. And to be honest, on this scale, I would give this car the 2015, I would give it a lease it. Now the reason behind that being, its turning circle is too wide, and to be honest, it's a bit bulky. Like, it's not big per se, but it's bulky, it's wide. And it's also a little bit on the lower spectrum. People who drive Chevrolet Equinoxes are usually not doing very well for themselves, but they want to make people think they're doing well for themselves, so they buy this fancy SUV that's not very fancy at all. That's my own opinion, though. If you have a different opinion, then it's your opinion. Just go with it. So yeah, this was the first ever car review on the Golden Bars channel. As I said in the intro, leave a like if you liked it. If you didn't like it, leave some constructive criticism. And if you want to have more content like this on the channel, then subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.